The PRS Herman Li Signature is possibly the most significant guitar launch of 2025, and it's not for the reason you might think. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ministry of Guitar. I'm Utkarsh coming to you from Singapore. Very exciting news because there have been many guitar launches, but they haven't really caught my attention. And this guitar launch yesterday by PRS, the Herman Li Signature, the Chleo, caught my attention. But what struck me more than the guitar itself, which in itself is very striking, and we'll get into that in a second, is something that this guitar is going to test out for the guitar industry right now in this tentative time that is 2025. But first, we have to talk about the guitar. It's a 200-piece run. It's a guitar shape that PRS hasn't really done before. It's basically like an Ibanez S style. It's not entirely new news because Herman Li of Dragon Force has been testing something similar on tour for a long time. He even almost broke one. In fact, not almost, he did break one. But what is astonishing is PRS is known for craftsmanship. It's known for quality. But to have something that is so bespoke and so difficult to make because it's incredibly thin, it's incredibly well put together, just the kind of R&D that would go into making something completely different is quite a lot. And for that to be only a 200-piece run, even if it's priced at $6,000-7,000, is incredible. It's incredible because of the R&D put into it, because it's not just like taking your normal guitar and changing the pickups or changing the color. It's a completely new shape. It is a challenging shape which required certain engineering requirements in order to fit the jack and the way the switches and everything is fit in there, because the Ibanez S is a very thin shape. So it's incredible because of that. I can't do justice to this, so I would highly recommend you watch Phil McKnight's video on the guitar. I mean, I watched that from start to finish, and even though I know a lot about what makes a good guitar, what makes a quality guitar, because of my experience having them, owning them, not necessarily working on them, I was just stunned by everything that Phil McKnight pointed out. So check out that video. But I want to talk about something else. One is, this is quite a punt from PRS to invest certainly a significant amount of time and money, and to put out a 200-piece run at $7,000 a piece, or whatever the exact pricing is depending on your country. It's a punt for two reasons. One is, I see significant overinvestment from them. I'm sure they will not even half recoup the money that they would have put behind the R&D on this from those guitars, because it's just not possible. This is too small a volume. So there's that. So it's interesting that they're choosing to do this in a time when the guitar industry is facing quite a few challenges. Let's face it. There is an existential question on guitars because AI has essentially made making music literally a prompt away. But more than that, there are question marks in terms of the state of the economy currently in 2024, 2025, and there's been a lot of oversupply of guitars over the last 2-3 years post-pandemic. So it's a very interesting time in which to overinvest behind a new platform and a program. There's that. And then there is the entire idea of launching a guitar at a significantly high price point in this environment, which is not based on a tried and true tested business model. This is not Gibson rolling out yet another artist guitar, or yet another replica of a famous vintage guitar, or just another variation of another famous or typical kind of guitar that people know that works, like say a certain kind of Fender Strat or Fender Tele. This is completely different. This is completely untested. It is completely untested because, one, you typically don't get that kind of guitar, an Ibanez S style guitar at that price point. Number two, PRS have no business model or no success strategy with that particular kind of guitar. Of course, they made a Silver Sky and it was super successful, but this is completely new. And I think whether or not this thing sells out and how quickly it sells out, if it does sell out, is going to be very indicative of where the guitar industry is right now and where the guitar industry is heading. If this sells out very quickly, we can deduce a couple of things. We can deduce that to some extent, the baton of buying guitars and sustaining the guitar industry is slowly shifting from the boomers to the millennials. Because let's face it, all the guitar industry's expensive stuff has essentially been bought mostly by boomers. And this guitar is certainly not a boomer guitar. So there's that. If we are seeing a sustained interest for millennials for guitars at these price points, of course millennials are now getting older, they're getting a little bit more prosperous, and if you know anything about economics, you know that there's a fundamental wealth transfer that's happening, the biggest wealth transfer in history, which is happening from the baby boomer generation to the millennial generation, poor Gen X caught in between. So the question now is, will the millennials take over the baton of sustaining the guitar industry of buying these expensive guitars? Let's face it, we can get a functional guitar for $500 today. I've made many videos on that. Will the millennials take over the baton from the baby boomers? I think the guitars like this Herman Li Signature are going to be the test of that. And my hope is yes. But there's a second bigger question, which is an existential question. Will PRS's big bet on investing in a new platform and really investing behind innovation, because let's be clear, there's a shit ton of innovation inside this guitar, inside this Herman Li guitar. Just the way they managed to put in the neck, for example. It's not that it's new manufacturing techniques, but it's like taking the concept of that super thin Ibanez guitar and bringing it to its ultimate fulfillment as the best possible high quality guitar. And a lot of interesting technical solutions that they would have found. Again, watch Phil McKnight's video. So, will this sort of investment into innovation pay off for guitar companies? Because on the face of it, as a tool, guitars are close to becoming redundant, because you can get your AI to create any sounds you want. If you don't believe me, check out this YouTube channel called Imagine and tear your hair out, not knowing whether to like what you're listening to or just feel terribly scared or feel spooked out by it. So I've said this many times, the guitar is redundant as a tool for making music. That said, it is a great tool for teaching people how to make music, even now, even with AI. And it is also a great hobby, and it's a great way for people to kind of have a social connection by playing with other people. So given that the guitar is becoming redundant as a tool, is there any point in investing in innovation in the guitar? Is there any point in doing something like what PRS is doing with this Herman Li Signature, which is trying to, again, push the limits of guitar design, the limits of guitar manufacturing? And again, I think the success or failure of this guitar will tell us whether, or rather will give guitar companies a barometer. And it's not only going to be this one, it of course is more than just one guitar launch, but guitar launches like these, and this one in particular, will give companies a barometer if indeed the guitar buying customer is going to reward them for investing in innovation. That's the question. That is the test that the Herman Li Signature is going to give the guitar industry this year. Because let's face it, most of the other guitar launches, they are variations of other guitars. They are themes or familiar formulas that all of us know. Of course, one may be linked to this artist, one may have these pickups, one may have this color, one may have the special insignia, whatever else it might be. But this is not that. This is true innovation. So whether millennials are going to buy this, whether they're going to reward the guitar companies for innovation, and whether they are going to set up a future base for guitar companies to feel confident that there's going to be a demand for their products in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years time, I think a lot of that will be heralded by how this particular guitar launch does. All right, folks, let me know what you think. Do you agree, disagree? Do you have a different point of view? I'd love to know what you think, and I'll see you next time.